On the evening of May 12, 2018, a quiet hair salon in Yulee, Nassau County, Florida, closed its doors like it had done countless times before. Surveillance cameras would later show shadows moving through the darkness, a vehicle leaving the area long after business hours, and a figure dressed in black disappearing into the night. By the time investigators began reviewing that footage, it was already clear that something had gone terribly wrong. At the center of this case was Jolene Jensen Cummings, a 34-year-old mother of three, who vanished without explanation just hours before Mother's Day, a day that also marked her birthday. Jolene lived in Yulee, a small community where people tended to know one another. Friends described her as outgoing, kind, and fiercely devoted to her children. She was known for her warm personality and her ability to make people feel comfortable almost instantly. To Jolene, motherhood was not just a role but her identity. She often spoke about her children as her proudest achievement, and those closest to her said everything she did revolved around them. Professionally, Jolene worked as a hairstylist at Tangle's Hair Salon, a local business with a steady base of loyal clients. She was well liked by both coworkers and customers, known for her skill and for her ability to carry on a conversation with anyone who sat in her chair. Her boss later told investigators that Jolene was dependable and genuinely cared about her clients. In her personal life, Jolene had faced changes in the years leading up to her disappearance. She had separated from her husband, Jason Cummings, and the two were in the process of navigating custody arrangements for their children. While the separation had been difficult, there was no indication of hostility or danger. Jason would later fully cooperate with investigators and was quickly ruled out as a suspect. Jolene had also briefly dated another man, Jason G. But that relationship had ended after a series of arguments. According to friends, Jolene was disappointed, but not distraught. She had chosen to refocus her energy on her children and her career, determined to move forward and start fresh. In the days before she vanished, Jolene's life appeared stable. She worked full schedules at the salon, cared for her children, and made plans for the future. Clients who saw her during that week later told police that she seemed normal and upbeat. One client specifically recalled Jolene talking about spending Mother's Day crafting and painting with her kids and making a handmade gift for her own mother. There were no signs that she was preparing to leave town or disappear. Financial records supported that conclusion. Jolene's bank accounts showed no unusual activity, and there were no large withdrawals. Her phone records did not suggest she was planning to cut off contact. Everything about her behavior pointed to a woman fully engaged in her life. On Saturday, May 12, 2018, Jolene went to work as usual. Saturdays were typically the busiest days at Tangle's Hair Salon, and she had a fully booked schedule. Despite the long hours, Jolene was looking forward to the end of her shift. She planned to leave work at 5 p.m., go home, and prepare for the following day. It was rare that Mother's Day and her birthday fell on the same date, and she was excited to spend the day with her children. According to salon records and witness accounts, Jolene completed her appointments and was last seen leaving the salon around 5 p.m. After that moment, no one heard from her again. The next morning, Jolene was supposed to meet her ex-husband to pick up her children. When she did not arrive, concern quickly set in. At first, family members considered simple explanations. Perhaps she had overslept or lost track of time after an exhausting day at work. But as the hours passed, those explanations no longer made sense. Jolene did not answer her phone. Calls went straight to voicemail. Text messages went unanswered. There was no activity on her social media accounts. By the end of the day, her family knew something was wrong. She was officially reported missing soon after. Investigators quickly learned that Jolene's vehicle, a beige 2006 Ford Expedition, was also missing. Her bank accounts remained untouched, and her phone appeared to be turned off or unreachable. Her boss, Jim, told authorities that Jolene would never voluntarily disappear, especially not on Mother's Day. He emphasized that her children were her entire world. The Nassau County Sheriff's Office launched a full missing person investigation. Deputies canvassed the area and asked anyone who had visited Tangle's hair salon that Saturday to come forward. Friends, neighbors, and volunteers organized search efforts throughout Yulee and surrounding areas. In a town as small as this one, Jolene's disappearance spread fear and disbelief. Detectives began by questioning those closest to her. Her ex-husband, Jason Cummings, was cooperative and visibly distressed. He allowed investigators to search his home, phone, and vehicle, and provided a solid alibi. Detectives found no evidence linking him to Jolene's disappearance and ruled him out early in the investigation. Attention then turned to Jolene's former boyfriend, Jason G. A neighbor reported hearing a loud argument at Jolene's home just days before she vanished. Police had been called at the time, but Jason G. fled before officers arrived. When deputies later located him, he was arrested on an unrelated probation violation. He admitted to arguing with Jolene, but denied harming her. Although initially labeled a person of interest, investigators were ultimately unable to place him at the salon or connect him to Jolene's disappearance. For several days, the investigation stalled. Leads were scarce, and tips from the public failed to produce results. Then, on May 16, 2018, detectives received their first major break. Jolene's missing Ford Expedition was found parked in a Home Depot parking lot, approximately 2 miles from Tangle's hair salon. Surveillance footage showed the vehicle arriving at 1:15 a.m., several hours after Jolene's shift had ended. Cameras captured a figure dressed entirely in black exiting the SUV and running from the area. Investigators followed the trail of surveillance cameras and traced the figure to a nearby gas station. There, a woman entered the store and asked the clerk to call her a taxi. The clerk later described the interaction as strange. The woman talked at length, rambling about drugs and her night out, before leaving in the cab. At that moment, detectives did not yet know the woman's identity. What they did know was that whoever abandoned Jolene's car had intimate access to it, and that Jolene herself was nowhere to be found. Unbeknownst to the investigators at the time, the person seen on camera was not a stranger. She was someone Jolene had worked beside, trusted, and encountered daily inside the walls of the salon. And as the investigation moved forward, the truth behind Jolene Cummings' disappearance would prove far more disturbing than anyone in Yulee could have imagined. As investigators continued tracing surveillance footage from the Home Depot parking lot and the gas station, their attention inevitably returned to the last place Jolene Cummings had been seen alive, Tangle's hair salon. What initially appeared to be a missing person case was about to take a far darker turn. A thorough examination of the salon revealed something deeply unsettling. Although there had clearly been an attempt to clean the premises, investigators noticed inconsistencies, faint stains, odd discolorations, and areas that did not look right. When forensic teams applied luminol, the truth emerged in stark clarity. Large areas of the salon lit up, revealing extensive amounts of blood throughout the workspace. There was no longer any doubt. Jolene had not simply disappeared. Investigators concluded that she had been violently attacked and killed inside the salon. With this discovery, detectives began reconstructing who had been present at Tangle's on the evening of May 12th. Work schedules showed that Jolene had not been alone during the final hours of her shift. The last person working with her that day was another stylist, a woman known at the salon as Jennifer Seibert. When detectives attempted to speak with Jennifer the following morning, she was nowhere to be found. She had been scheduled to open the salon, but she never arrived. Jolene's boss, Jim, called her phone just as she was reportedly pulling into the parking lot. According to Jim, Jennifer saw police vehicles outside the salon and immediately drove away. Moments later, she contacted him and said she was quitting, demanded her final paycheck, and stated that she would never return. Investigators quickly recognized this behavior as a major red flag. Surveillance footage from the gas station was shown to salon staff, and without hesitation, multiple people identified the woman in black as Jennifer Seibert, despite her hair appearing different. The person seen abandoning Jolene's vehicle and calling for a taxi was the same co-worker who had worked with her that Saturday. As detectives dug deeper, they discovered that the address Jennifer had provided to her employer did not exist. Her phone calls went unanswered, and no one at the salon truly knew where she lived. Within hours, she became the primary suspect. Witnesses began coming forward with troubling accounts of Jennifer's behavior. Several coworkers described her as volatile, paranoid, and socially aggressive. Clients recalled moments where she inserted herself into conversations only to speak harshly to Jolene for no apparent reason. One colleague described her as someone who put everyone on edge, while another said her constantly changing appearance made her deeply unsettling. Text messages later recovered from Jolene's phone revealed that she had grown increasingly uncomfortable around Jennifer. In one message, Jolene referred to her as fake and said there was something off about her that she could not explain. Just days before her disappearance, Jolene had reportedly told Jennifer directly to stay away from her. After issuing a bolo for Jennifer's vehicle, investigators located her miles away, sleeping in her car at a gas station. She had visible injuries to her face and body consistent with a physical altercation. She was arrested initially on charges related to grand theft auto for taking Jolene's vehicle. What investigators uncovered next stunned everyone involved in the case. The woman calling herself Jennifer Seibert was not Jennifer at all. Fingerprint analysis revealed her true identity as Kimberly Lee Kessler, a woman who had been reported missing by her own mother in 2004. During questioning, she admitted that she had lived under false identities for nearly 2 decades. Kimberly Kessler had used more than 25 aliases, obtained multiple driver's licenses, and lived in dozens of cities across 14 states. She frequently altered her appearance, changing her hair, wearing wigs, and reinventing herself each time she moved. She told detectives she changed her name to avoid an abusive ex-partner, though her long history of deception suggested a pattern far more complex. During questioning, Kimberly was talkative and confident, often speaking at length and volunteering information. She denied harming Jolene and claimed she had no idea where she was. Despite clear video evidence showing her abandoning Jolene's car, she denied stealing it. At one point, she accused Jolene of being a drug user, an allegation that friends, family, and investigators unanimously rejected. When pressure increased, Kimberly requested an attorney, and formal questioning ceased. However, by that point, investigators were already building a powerful case. Surveillance footage placed Kimberly at a Walmart the night Jolene disappeared. Around 9 p.m., she was seen purchasing items including ammonia, zip ties, and an electric knife. Investigators believed these items were bought after Jolene had already been killed. Later that night, cameras captured Kimberly returning to the salon and disposing of heavy bags in a dumpster behind the building. Garbage truck routes were traced, leading detectives to a massive landfill containing millions of pounds of trash. Although the scale made a full recovery impossible, nearby wooded areas yielded disturbing discoveries, including the lid of a large plastic container. When investigators located Kimberly's real residence and a storage unit she had recently rented, the case reached a grim conclusion. Inside, they found numerous items stained with blood. DNA testing confirmed the blood belonged to Jolene Cummings. Jolene's fingernail was also recovered, along with scissors covered in blood. Testing later showed that some of the blood in the salon belonged to Kimberly herself, indicating a violent struggle. Investigators concluded that Jolene had been dismembered and her remains disposed of in garbage bags. Despite extensive searches, her body was never recovered. Further examination of Kimberly's phone and computer revealed disturbing searches related to violent crime, female serial killers, and Jolene's name. Investigators also found notebooks filled with names, writings about demons, religious delusions, and paranoia. Former partners and acquaintances described Kimberly as violent and unstable, recounting incidents from her past that painted a frightening picture. Kimberly Kessler was charged with first-degree murder and grand theft auto. Throughout her incarceration, her behavior grew increasingly erratic. Jail staff reported that she frequently stripped naked, smeared feces on her cell, and accused authorities of poisoning her food. She lost a significant amount of weight and was temporarily declared incompetent to stand trial. However, after evaluation, medical professionals determined that she understood the charges against her and was capable of participating in her defense. The trial itself was chaotic. Kimberly repeatedly disrupted proceedings and eventually refused to attend court in person, instead watching from a separate room via video feed. The prosecution argued that the murder was premeditated, citing her internet searches, the purchase of tools, and the timing of the crime to coincide with the salon being closed for 2 days. The defense acknowledged a violent altercation, but argued that premeditation could not be proven. The jury disagreed. Kimberly Kessler was found guilty of first-degree murder and grand theft auto. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Jolene's family, the verdict brought justice but not closure. Her remains have never been found. Her daughter went to live with her grandmother, while her sons were raised by their father. The Tangles hair salon eventually closed, unable to continue in the place where Jolene had lost her life. More than a year after her disappearance, Jolene Cummings was officially declared dead. Her mother spoke publicly, pleading for the location of her daughter's remains, hoping for the chance to lay her to rest. This case left behind profound grief and an enduring lesson. It showed how evil can hide behind ordinary faces, how trust can be exploited, and how quickly a normal day can turn into tragedy. Jolene Cummings was not just a victim in a criminal case. She was a mother, a daughter, and a woman whose life was taken by someone she worked beside every day. Her story remains a reminder that behind every true crime, headline is a family forever changed.